Hello and welcome to the Overly Animated Podcast, where we take animation seriously. We talk everything animation here, including Promised Neverland, which we'll be getting into right now. I'm Andy Potter, and today I'm joined by April Collins.
Hello!
And Steve Zeck.
Hi.
We'll be talking about the seventh episode. Seventh episode of Promised Neverland today. But before that, you can find everything about this podcast at overlyanimated.com. You can subscribe to us on iTunes at overlyanimated.com/iTunes or on YouTube at youtube.com/overlyanimated. So yeah, this is the seventh episode, not sixth. Seventh episode of Promised Neverland. It's the first day of November in the show, and things are getting more convoluted. The plan is getting I won't say messed up, but it's getting more complicated, and more people are getting involved in it. So how'd you like this episode, April?
I like this episode a lot. It was a huge Crone episode. I'm not really surprised, I guess, that she wants to join forces with them. What I most enjoyed about this episode is that we got so much more Emma in it. And that's just something that I feel like we've been missing in the previous 6, is that, in the first episode and kind of in the second, she was sort of a main character. And it's not that she hasn't been a main character, it's just that she's just sort of been, in my opinion, she's been more so used as like a plot device and is just kind of like driving the other characters like from behind the scenes, and then she's like doing things, but we don't see her doing things. So I liked actually seeing her, I guess, doing stuff and seeing all of like the intense emotions on her face. Like, it was just, I will continue to praise this show and its animation and its drawing of the characters, because they changed like the smallest details in the face, and then you see the difference in the character and their attitude, which I guess kind of tied into like what Crone was going on about, where like reading people is easy if you understand like changes in pupils and like this and that and like all that stuff. So but yeah, I liked it. There wasn't a whole lot of action going on, but there was a lot that was sort of driving the plot. We also got a lot of backstory, which is nice. Or I guess it's backstory. We're getting into like the mythology of what's going on. And there's a lot to discuss there. But yeah, again, like not a whole lot of action, but I'm glad that we got to see Emma more.
Yeah, Emma's always great. Steve, how did you like this episode?
It was a good episode. The big Crone episode. I'm shocked we got to see her doll again. I thought he or she was dead for sure. But yeah, and Crone is don't judge a book by its cover, because she's a lot smarter than she let on. Able to tell like when someone's hiding something or they know something. That really surprised me when that first happened. It's a Crone episode. Like April said, we got some backstory here and stuff that I suspected all along in terms of the adult characters, that they were once cattle at one point. So that kind of interesting in terms of they're not that different from our protagonists in a way. So that's good. And just when I'm starting to really love Crone this episode, it seems we might not be seeing more of her. So that's sad.
Yeah, if this is the end of Crone, that's pretty sad, because I don't think we ever really got a full character arc. I guess a full character arc for her, but I'm kind of convinced that this is not the end of Crone. I think we'll have one more episode for her. And, I like this episode too. I like this episode a lot. I really liked the ending of it a lot. I liked how just in the span of a couple of seconds, Isabella was a lot more creepy than Crone ever was the entire episode. Just standing there with a knife, like, open the door, there's a woman with a knife and she's just smiling, and I'm like, wow, Isabella, wow. But yeah, and I also really liked, I don't know, there was something really creepy but also kind of nice about Ray walking around with a camera, just taking pictures of people.
He looked so happy.
He did, but it was also like, there's some other reason he's taking pictures, because like, I don't know, he looked happy, but also I'm a little creeped out and worried about what he's doing.
I have an idea for the camera. If we're ready to start talking about that, because
sure. What is your idea for this amazing camera?
My idea is that because Ray doesn't want to take everyone with him, and so my idea is that he got the camera so he could take pictures of all the other kids
For Emma?
For Emma, yeah.
I had a thought kind of like that when I was watching, just like that he thinks this is a consolation for Emma, and I'm like, this is not the same thing, man. This is just not the same.
It's not, but I also think, like, that's my guess. And then part of me is like, okay, there must be, like, some other reason, because that one's just, like, way too simple. But he looked so happy to have that camera.
He looked very happy.
Yeah. And he's so cute, too, with the camera. But this show, this is definitely the most sci-fi thing for me, because someone in 2045 still using that camera, that's definitely science fiction.
Yeah.
I have a camera like that.
Were you mad that he was, like, not shaking the pictures when he took them? Like, not shaking them around like a Polaroid's supposed to be
He's
shaking?
smarter than us. They actually say you're not supposed to shake those pictures. So.
You're not? That's not right.
I know.
Okay, we're not going to get into this. This is not what we're here to talk about, because a lot happened this episode. I guess we'll start from the top, because I think this episode really just works if we can't really talk about it without talking about every little part that happens. So I think the big thing here is Crone meets up with the kids at the end of last episode, and it starts with her showing that she was once livestock or a kid on a farm as well. And then we cut to the credits, and then she tells them about how she was essentially, because she was a girl, she had the choice of going to be food or being a mom, and that seems like a very obvious decision to make. But the shocking thing here is that she essentially has a bomb in her chest. So she can never leave. Apparently. It's a very big scar. She called it a chip, but it's not really a chip if it's, like, that big.
It could be a chip. Have you ever seen, like, open heart surgery scars? They're pretty big.
Yeah, it could be. Steve, how did you react to this? Or was,
Oh, I was like, the bomb thing, that, in a way, I'm not surprised, but another way, I am surprised, because I knew that definitely had some way to keep these adults in check.
Yeah.
But I'm so disappointed, though, we found out about her past, but we did not see really a flashback. We did not see little Crone, because that would have been cool to see.
Yeah, we didn't get a chance to see her younger. Yeah. But I don't know if we need to. Maybe in the future we'll see a younger version, maybe Isabella or Crone. Yeah. April, you already kind of commented on it, but was this kind of shocking to you?
I mean, not really. They put tracking devices in kids. Like, I don't think it's above them at this point or beneath them, because, what is it? She said demons. Oh, you're talking about them. So I'm just going to call them now.
That's the canon name for them now, them.
Them.
And him.
I don't know. But anyway, so I don't think that's beneath them to put, like, chips inside. Plus, that's extra security for them. Like, we've got tracking devices in kids. We've got tracker thingies to watch those kids. And then I guess the only way to, like, keep the adults in check is to put some kind of, like, preventative. So, yeah, I can see them, like, putting a chip inside of them. And it even being more advanced where they're just like, oh, we're moving you to a new farm. Let me temporarily deactivate it, put you to sleep, and then you'll wake up in a new place kind of situation. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, but I mean, it like, that seems a lot though. Like, if you leave the farm without permission, then you get electrocuted to death. And if someone kills you, then it sends off a signal. Like, that's even crazier. Like, they're serious about their human meat.
Yeah.
Though, I don't know if Isabel really had choices of who her mole would be, like how that happened, how she came across Ray, but if I had a choice, I would try to get a female apprentice, knowing these rules, that you can at least offer them maybe the chance that you get to live, period, because there's only so much limits that Isabel can offer Ray, because he's a boy. He can never become a mama or anything, like, gain those positions, so...
I don't know if, like, they get a choice in who gets to be offered that, because
But you could just try to you could at least, at the very least, just promise them, like, just make that false promise, or
I mean,
Ray has no chance to become a mama. I'm just saying.
Right, but I think that's, like, extra security for her. Yeah. Is that, like, well,
Ray
if it's
can
in
never
a boy,
stick around. Ray is gone.
Yeah, like, Ray will never, like, reveal that later on in some drunken conversation that, oh yeah, I used to be a secret spy for Isabella,
or he can never reveal,
why are
like,
they so young?
or he can never reveal, like, that he almost helped with the escape attempt. Like that's a loose end that she can close for sure.
Yeah.
If he leaves.
I think there's like an extra layer of security in having like one of the boys be your mole versus the girls, because again, like I don't think that Isabella or any of the moms get a choice in what girls get picked, because Crone made it sound like it was like based off scores and like something else. So clearly like not any choice that Isabella would get to play.
And based on what we've seen from Crone and Isabella, these like moms, they're ready to backstab each other for anything. So I don't think there's really any trust or anything.
Oh, no.
Oh, speaking of which, little correction from last podcast. I wanted to ask, what do you guys think of Isabella and Crone as a ship?
Steve. Yes, Steve. That's a very different thing than Crone and Emma. It's a very different thing.
Not the same.
Oh my god.
No, they could never work out because their relationship is very toxic.
Yeah.
Aren't they the best?
No.
There's nothing healthy about a toxic relationship.
Okay. We're kind of moving off here from Crone, but let's talk a little bit more about what Crone tells them about, because I think the other big thing here is that she gives us a lot of exposition on the world. Some of the things are bigger than others, but I think the big thing here is whether we trust Crone or not, whether she's telling the truth. And I think on the whole, she's telling the truth, but some of the things are a little wild that she says. Like, some of the things are pretty big, I think. Like, I think the biggest thing is that she talks about how there are humans out there. There are humans that are not on farms. Like, that is probably the headliner, like, story, world building thing we learned this week. That there are people out there that can help them that aren't this person from the book. I forget their name. The William Minerva, I think it was.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like, there's people out there that sound like they work with the demons in some way. And so that's interesting. That's an interesting thing that we're going to see when we get out there, I guess. Was there anything that we learned from Crone, in your opinion, April, that was, like, really big beside, like, this or anything else?
I think the reveal of, like, the other humans is sort of pretty, like, kind of a big deal. Especially because Crone sort of suggested that there's not just females, but there's potentially males as well.
Yeah.
And it kind of seems like everyone has their place in this society. Like, there's humans that prepare your food. There's humans that, like, make your clothes, and that kind of situation. So I think that's kind of like a big, like, reveal that there's actually a whole society of humans, because one of the things that has been sort of in the, doubtful in the minds of, like, Ray and even Norman a little bit is that, we don't know, like, what the world is like out there for humans. Like, we don't know if there's a subset of people, or, like, is everyone just on farms, or that kind of situation. So I think that kind of helps give, like, a little bit of maybe more hope in Emma's eyes, because she was the person who was fighting for it.
I wonder where these children come from. Like, how do they create them? Like, do they have, like, certain males? Yeah. Do they have, like, certain males whose job is simply to procreate, or what have you? I mean, or do they just use, like, sperms? Like, do they have, like,
test tubes?
Yeah.
Or are they test tube babies? Or
is everyone really half demon? Like, their male forms?
Oh,
like,
my God.
No, I don't think them would.
You're sticking with this, April.
I'm sticking with it. No, because that line, like, stuck out to me so much, so that, like, Crone was just like she seemed almost taken aback that she was like, demons. But then again, like, when you think about it, like, in the eyes of a child who may not have been exposed to, anything else besides, like, demons, assuming there's any type of religious text or whatever, or even in some of the stories that they've read, that they wouldn't be, they would only think to call them demons because they're not human. And so it's just interesting that she was very taken aback when they were like, she was like, demons, like, oh, that's what you call them. So, but the biggest thing I think that was revealed is that she asked them if they knew about him. Yes. So I'm assuming he's the head honcho of, like, everything.
I don't know.
Are you sure?
I don't know. It could be Phil.
It could be Phil.
Oh, I gotta know something about Phil when I get into later. But guy talking about William Minerva. I think it's implied that he might have lived a long time ago. He might long since be dead, and we don't know though whose side he was on. He could be an ally to humanity against these demons or against them.
Yeah, like there's a lot of we learn a lot, but we don't get a full picture, and I think that's just like what this show does a lot. Like we get the beginnings of an understanding, but we don't get the full picture at all. There's people out there, like I'm April, I'm not really as hopeful about there being people out there, humans. I'm more on the side of like these are just different types of slaves, essentially. Like there are.
Well, I mean, yeah, they're probably all of these humans are slaves or cattle.
Yeah.
So unless that's
it's gonna be tough.
gonna say unless that's just like some like false information that Sister Crone is feeding them,
or it could be false information that she's gotten. Like it.
Yeah.
Like we can't really treat her, even if she's telling the truth, we can't treat what she knows as fact all the time. Because she has not left the farm.
And Andy, question.
Yes.
How far are you caught up on Attack on Titan? I'm
not like, I've gotten pretty far in it. Why?
Okay, so I don't want to sure you get this truth that maybe this whole other section of the world that's just humans, and the demon just got this own section here where they have select groups of humans they can use for their cattle, like this whole other peaceful world of humans in this Earth.
Oh, you think it could just be like one continent has demons and the rest are not? Like there's still a war going on, maybe?
Yeah.
That could be something. I don't know though. It's just we know so little. I feel so unsure about making predictions about what's going on out in the real world right now, in the rest of the world right now. Crone doesn't even know where they are on the world. Like they ask her specifically, where is the farm, and she's like,
where
I don't know.
are we? She just knows they're on Plant 3. So
yeah, that's all she knows. It's kind of crazy. And I think the other big thing is here. She mentions that she's going to tell them about him tomorrow, and then they never get the chance because she's getting shipped off. So
I mean, we assume she's getting shipped off.
Yeah, like there's also I still think it's in play that she sticks around and messes things up the next day. Like she doesn't leave right away. Like she messes stuff up.
But if like the demons are planning to if they are going to kill her, is she too old to eat? Like,
I don't think they're eating her. I think she's just being sent to a different. I mean, we can make guesses about that a little later. Like, but I don't know if she's necessarily going to be sent off to be eaten. So let's.
I don't think they would though.
No.
I think they specifically eat kids.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think they specifically need the young kids. This is like
Except for maybe the lower,
they need them young.
The poorest of the poorest demons who would eat anything.
What if they think of it as like wine? They're like, yes, like this is aged finely past its prime. Well, I mean, I'm just saying, like in comparison, like they keep like the moms or whatever Sister Crone is. I guess sisters, sort of like as a aged like version of food, because they could also be under the impression that they stop, like they're like, okay, once they hit 12, like that's it kind of situation, but maybe like they don't even like, again, maybe they don't have the whole truth, and so maybe like that's what's going to happen to her. Like that would be my best prediction, is that she's gonna get like shipped out to be eaten.
And it also could still be that just this farm is the children farm. Like other farms might be adults. Like we still don't know that for sure.
So going by your assumption, April, how old do you think the grandmas are? Are they like just maybe 40, perhaps?
Probably. Well, because like Sister Crone said she was 26, and Isabella, who's a mom, is 31.
I can't believe that Crone is somehow like my age. That doesn't seem right in my head at all.
I can see it.
You can see it? You can see
She's got baby fever. That's when baby fever hits. She's got that baby doll, which she somehow still has. Crazy. Also, I have to say that during that conversation between Crone and Emma and Norman, like, a lot of like those sort of like jump scare kind of images. I don't know if jump scare is the right word, but like those like immediate flashes to like these like cuts. Sort of, the jump cuts to like, and I'm going to use the word grotesque, but I don't mean it like in that same way, but like these sort of like grotesque like views or angles or things like that or close-ups. Like I really thought that was very well done.
Yeah, they did.
And sort of added to the like anxiety that I was already feeling during this conversation.
Grotesque, yeah, I agree. It's not quite the right word. Maybe just like they just stretched the faces, like
Yeah.
they were just uncanny a lot of the times, but because of like angles and like they were clearly right from the camera they were using. It just the way that it was shown to us was just very not right.
Yeah, it was unsettling.
Yes,
and
unsettling
I really enjoyed that because Sister Crone is an unsettling character to begin with.
Yeah,
so.
And I think I'll be honest, I didn't like Crone as much as Isabella at the beginning, but I really like Crone when we really contrast her with Isabella because they're just completely different types of horror. Like, Isabella showing up at the end of the episode just, like, all calm and just smiling. Like, she looks normal, but she's terrifying. And Crone just is this, like, kind of terrifying person who is terrifying. Like, they're very different ways to scare the audience, and I like that. But let's keep moving forward here, because we still have more to talk about. Because there's also a scene we skipped over that where the kids talk about the fact that they don't trust Crone. And so, like, this is again, I think this is when the show's at its best, when these people are making maneuvers against each other, and they both know that the other knows, like that kind of stuff. And this conversation is just peak that. Like, people are talking, they're making plans, Norman's making plans with Ray, Emma's making plans with Don and Gilda, and they all know that Crone is trying to sell them out. And I really like this.
This is like Survivor, the anime.
Yes, it is.
Survivor. I think something that's really interesting to note, too, that I'm like just now thinking about is that whenever they were having the initial conversation with Crone, that Emma seemed almost okay with like selling out Ray because like the way that I guess Crone sort of outlined the deals. And, you know, because Emma was just like, well, how do we know you're not going to betray us? And so, like, Emma seemed to be very accepting of the fact that, like, Ray's, like, that middleman and sort of, like, that bait. Like, well, if Ray tells, then, like, surely he's going to die. And, like, you know what I mean? Like,
I think that was the big tell that Emma never trusted Crone.
Yeah.
And she's definitely, in this episode, towards Crone, she definitely has a very resentment towards her. Like, she definitely, it's something I don't really think that she has towards any other character in the show, Ray, or maybe even Isabella. I don't know how she stands on her, but Crone is definitely, like, when she said, like, you only care about surviving yourself, you don't care about any of these children. She's very, like, mad at her. Like, it seemed like Emma wouldn't gonna give a damn if Crone lived or died, which I do think is kind of uncharacteristic of the Emma we know so far in the series.
Yeah, that is kind of strange. That, like, Emma usually does care about stuff like that, but I think she's just becoming kind of hardened at this point, that she's like, I need to care about just the kids I can save at this point. Like,
well, and she has no real connection with Crone because Crone was introduced to her as, you know, as an enemy. And so, or at least, like, when Crone was introduced, like, it was past, I guess, like, her prime time for accepting people and loving them kind of situation. Yeah, and so I think a lot of that has influenced her feelings towards Crone. Also, Crone is crazy. I
understand. But do you think, though, when you found out, though, that these adults, that Crone was once like them, that perhaps you would see at least a little empathy at the very least?
No.
Realizing they're all in the same boat in a weird way. I don't know. Maybe
I think the difference is the fact that, like whereas Emma and Norman and, you know, Don and Gilda and quote unquote Ray, is that they're trying to make it better for not themselves specifically, but for other people as well. So, and I think whereas, you know, the fact that Crone told them and I see where Crone was trying to, I guess, appeal to them and being like, hey, like, I'm just like you, but she's not just like them because she willingly accepted what was the situation that was going on and continued to play into it, and continues to play into it. So, and in her future plans can also continue to, you know, essentially farm out the children. And I think that's where Emma loses her, like, sympathy and her empathy, is because she's like, you're watching this happen and you've continued, like, you found out this was happening, you've continued to just let it happen, and you're not trying to do anything to fix it. Like, you're literally only thinking about yourself.
And I don't.
So,
and
in a way, though, isn't that no different from Ray? Though I
think Ray is moving in that kind of direction, but I think the biggest thing here is that I don't know if it's right to condone what any of the moms have done. Because, I mean, like,
No.
I don't know if you can say, like, hey, they shouldn't have saved themselves. You know what I mean? Like,
No, and I don't think it's that. I think it's just that, like, I don't know.
And also,
and again, we have to understand that Emma's 11.
yes.
yeah,
So,
I was about to say the same thing. These are kids here, so they have a different sense of, like, morality. They're more simple for them than for us adults who are maybe a little more cynical or a little more thought out.
Or just, like, they just realize, like, hey, I don't want to die myself first and foremost. And but from a kid's perspective, that does come off as selfish. That does it's not that I don't understand where she's coming from, where Emma's coming from. It's a very natural thing to think, hey, you're being selfish here. You just let this all happen. But at the end of the day, like, Crone just didn't want to die, and I don't think we can condone that specific action of her, even though she is kind of an evil person, or comes off evil.
But at the same time, though, what could she have done? And like I said,
we don't know her. That's kind of the problem. We don't know her exact situation, so we can't say, like, she could have done this or this. But I think what the kids think is that she could have done something more.
Yeah. And again, I think the other thing, like, the difference between Crone and Ray is that Emma knows Ray and probably still feels like she has some type of influence over him, and could potentially change the way he feels or sees things. Because, and I think that, you know, again, they're all, like, extremely smart, all of these kids. Like, that's one of the things, like, that I always sit there and I'm like, wow, these kids are so much smarter than me. But, I think the other thing too is that Emma knows and has accepted the fact that she's not going to be able to change Crone's mind. And even still, like, that shows through the fact that she doesn't trust Crone, because at any point Crone could sell her out, or sell all of them out, and then, like, it's over for them. So, and she knows that because Crone's only doing this with herself in mind. And Emma's like, okay, like, I have to do what I can to protect my people because there's still that potential. Even though she says she's not going to, I don't trust her, which she shouldn't. Crone could in that moment could still do anything and everything to, you know, not let them escape.
And she's not even trying to hide it. She's pretty much saying, you're correct to not fully trust me, so.
Yeah.
At least she's honest, I guess.
But I think the creepiest thing is, like, because, like, the idea put forward by the kids and what turns out to be right is that Crone wants hard evidence that they're trying to escape. And I don't know if this came across to you guys, but the way I read it in that scene where they were talking about the trackers is Crone wanted them to cut off their ears so that she would have evidence that they tried to escape, which is really, really creepy. Like, she was so excited for them to be like, oh, they know where the trackers are. That means I can get them to cut their ears off. Like,
she needs the skin to sew up her baby doll.
Oh, God. That was... April, please. Please. That was so creepy.
Well, this episode was creepy. And that was my first thought whenever she said that. I was like, she wants the skin to fix her baby doll.
Oh my god. She wants a 5-year-old baby doll.
Yeah.
How often has she broken that doll? I wonder.
Oh, yeah. Who knows? When the doll, like, its head, like, tilts over, like, that is
and she doesn't even flinch. She's just like, I'm just holding my baby here.
Yeah, this is just my baby.
But I do think it's hilarious though that whenever, like, they're having that conversation with Crone and she comes to the realization that they already know about the trackers, they already know where they are, like, they've already figured out a way to disable them. And I think Crone was really trying to, like, trying to get them to buy into the whole scalpel thing.
Yeah. I also think that Crone is one of those characters that is smart, but is trying to prove to people that she's smarter than she actually is, because I think she loses a lot of ground by telling the kids that she knows that they were lying. I think that's just Crone's, like, biggest flaw, is that she needs to be smarter, need to show people she's smarter, not just be smarter.
So probably she may have gotten good enough test scores, but she probably never at the top of her class, and she probably definitely has that inferiority complex, same inferiority complex that Dawn has.
I have a feeling, like, it's possible, like, maybe, like, there was a guy that was smarter than her, but they were a guy, so they never got the chance to be a mom, and she was just the smartest girl in her year or whatever. And
I was gonna say my I guess like interpretation of how they chose, because Crone said it was based off of scores. So my interpretation isn't that the girls that they pick don't necessarily have the highest scores, because then they're less easy to manipulate.
Oh, that's a good point. Maybe, and that's why Emma's not being picked to be a mom. And
like
what's also
I guess you gotta have some kind of sadistic heart too. Maybe Emma's too pure-hearted to be a mom.
Yeah, that could also be it. And also that thought, April, gives me this thought, which is maybe Isabella faked her test scores to be a little lower than perfect. You know what I mean? And maybe she tricked them into thinking, hey, I'm someone who can be manipulated. And then after she got out, she's just like, yeah, I'm just like the smartest one here. Like, that's just it. That's how she became the best mom of all the farms. Because that's what
best farmer.
Yeah, the best farmer. Like Crone said that, right? That she's regarded as like the best plant owner.
Like, she's regarded like highly.
Yes.
Or at least like she produces the best stuff.
Yeah, she is the only farm that produces food that's like for specific demons, essentially.
In a way, isn't that sort of the story of our society in terms of women sort of had to hide maybe their intelligence a bit, had to dumb themselves down just a little bit so the male-dominated world don't feel like insecure? Ain't that the truth?
I think, if anything, that's just a small nod to that world that we live in. But, I mean, it's also like a coming of age where, like, women aren't told, and the only demons we've seen and met are male demons. Like, do we know their gender?
No, we don't.
Well, they're male voices.
Do they have gender?
I guess there's the assumption, like, that, I mean, Crone said him. I assumed the him was a demon, but I guess that's not necessarily true.
It could not be. It could just be like a head human. Yeah. It could be grandfather.
Oh my god.
Oh.
Great grandpa.
Yeah.
Granddaddy.
Oh no. I should have said it. Let's finish up the Crone conversation real quick here. Let's talk about her finding quote unquote hard evidence underneath Ray's nightstand, which I do not buy at all, for the record.
I think it is totally faked.
Yeah, it's totally
like,
a fake.
100% fake. It could be, especially because like they have that moment where they're like
smiling.
They're like smiling because they know that they planted it.
Yeah.
And I will admit there was a small tiny part of me that was just like, she's gonna find the underground raised stash.
She's gonna find the floorboards. But they left. Right. What I bet is they left the note on top of the floorboards that they move, so she would see the note and then just ignore the floorboards underneath it.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So that she thought she found the secret thing, but it's not.
So here's my thought, because I was trying to think about the size of it, and I wonder if they like left a picture.
Oh, they like took a picture of something and then folded it up. That
and
would
then
be
like folded it, because I was trying to remember how big the picture was that like Ray had taken.
It was smaller than the note she opened.
Was it? Because I was trying to think about it whenever Isabella was holding it.
Well, because the problem is that she unfolded it multiple times. Like, it unfolded once, then it unfolded a second time, and so, like, yeah, I don't know. It's possible, like, there's a picture inside it, you know what I mean?
Yeah. But yeah, I want to know what it was. Whatever they faked, because they definitely faked something.
Yeah, I'm interested too. And also, in this moment, Steve's favorite character, Phil, comes in and asks Crone what she's doing.
Oh, yeah. Well, before we get there, I just want to say...
before we get to Phil...
Andy, I know you. An interesting character I want to compare Crone to. You know who she reminds me of? Starscream.
Starscream? Okay.
She's sort of very complex, and Isabella's like sort of the Megatron. Her Megatron, she's just frustrated, always trying to get one over, and she can never just get past to her station.
Are we saying that Isabella is a good guy? Because I'm for this.
No. No. This is a Transformers reference, April. This is. I'm not going to I don't know how I'm even going to try. It's Transformers.
Okay,
we're not going to do this reference here, Steve. I get what you're saying. I see the comparison, but I don't know if Transformers has enough overlap with Promised Neverland to have a full conversation here, Steve.
Yeah, I'm just saying she reminds me of that trope of a character that just can never get a break, just trying her hardest, but she's just not as smart as someone else.
Yeah, it's definitely a similar trope. But but your boy Phil came in here, Steve.
Oh yes, I got something like. And it's just suspicious though. Crone encounters Phil, and then next thing she gets shipped out. You don't think perhaps Phil, the mastermind Phil, might have something to do with that?
Oh my
So
God.
I'm curious. Okay, because I have so many different theories and ideas. Because whenever Isabella gets the camera, or that package, which has the camera in it, you also see the note that she then later gives to Crone. So I'm wondering, if Crow, what exactly that letter is. Because in my heart of hearts, I want her to be shipped out to be eaten. But I'm wondering if it...
Whoa, you are harsh. You're just as harsh as Emma is.
I can't help it. But I'm just curious because I noticed that upon my second watch through was that note was already in there. So
they'd written it they'd written it before the reveal at the end of the episode?
Yeah, because it came in that package that Isabella got with
sorry.
Ray's camera.
Not the note Ray wrote. It's the note that Isabella gave Crone. I apologize. Sorry.
Yeah, the one with the seal on it.
Yes, the one the one with the knife scene.
The knife scene. That was such a good scene.
That was it was only maybe 30 seconds long, but it was so good.
My first reaction right there is Crone. Good news, Crone. You get to go to the ball.
Yeah, I think the big I get what you're saying now, April. It seems that her being shipped out is not related to Crone teaming up with the kids.
Yeah.
That it seems like it's something else has come up, and it's unclear whether it's actually something Isabella has done. But what else was in that package? Was it just the camera? I couldn't really make out much in the package.
There was the note, and then the box that I assumed had the camera in it.
But was that? And it seemed like the package was bigger than that, though.
I don't know. Well, look, film is big, okay?
Yeah, it might be a lot of film. You're right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I think the interesting thing here is then also that Crone goes back to her room and talks about what's in the note. We haven't talked about that. She said, how did they know this about Isabella? It seems like there's something actually in there that the kids shouldn't know, and so it must be something that only Ray knows and hasn't told anybody else. Which is just more infuriating that we don't know what's on the note still.
But what could Ray possibly know,
I don't know.
that, he's Isabella's son? I don't know.
It almost feels like it's supposed to be related to the camera. You know what I mean? It feels like it has to be related to that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, after if Ray's keeping any more secrets here, Emma's gonna do something terrible to the poor boy.
Yeah.
She warned him.
Yeah. She does not like people working behind her back, or her friends working behind her back.
She gave her one strike. She gave her one chance. You're not getting a second chance. It's not 3 strikes. It's 2 strikes, and you're out.
Yeah. So before we move on from Crone really quick, because I think we've covered most of what she did, I want to talk about a couple of interesting shots that Crone has this episode. First up, we have when the kids go up to knock on her door, and the camera pans up and then tilts to keep Crone's head straight up and down on the screen. That is something.
I was gonna say that was one of those it was one of those initial unsettling odd camera kind of movement, but you know what I mean? Why are we going at it at this angle kind of situation?
It's these kind of things that I think is what makes me like this show so much, because it's just it's not something they needed to do, but it's not that much work to make this thing happen, but it makes the whole scene kind of work and adds to the air, atmosphere of what's happening here. It really feels like they're putting a lot of thought and work into making sure they're using all the tools in the toolbox, which I feel like anime doesn't always do, and I really love it.
Yeah, no, I really liked that. There was, that one.
I think the one after that is the one where they have the CG house and we're, just following, Crone walking through the house.
Yeah.
Towards to find the note. That one I think that was very, striking.
It was super subtle what they were doing, but, when Crone was walking up to Emma and Norman.
Yeah.
In the bedroom, and all they have is the close up of their faces, but you can see them slowly shifting their gaze up, And so, like, again, super subtle, but, like, very, very effective.
Yeah,
and, like,
whenever
pays off for the scene.
Yeah, the scene is shot so that we're always seeing Crone looking down and we're always seeing the kids looking up, so it always makes us feel intimidated by her. It's very well shot. And I also like the shot where we have the wide shot of her, like, holding the tracker, so we really get a sense of how far the kids are standing away from her.
And they're, like, keeping close to the door, like, they're not...
There's a lot being shown here with just body language, which is very impressive.
Sorry, well, again, like, that was, like, the conversation or, like, the point that she brings up. And so I think that the shots that they did, like, emphasized that, like, her making that point. Yeah. And even in, like, the moment of them being absolutely, like, terrified, and then her, like, saying, like, I'm reading you essentially like a book right now, like, even then you can tell that they're so terrified they can't even compose themselves. Because one of the things that, like, whenever we did have Emma, like, moments or in the beginning is her, like, composing herself, like, constantly, and putting on this show and putting on this, like, face. And in this moment, she's so horrified she can't even do that. And not even Norman can, who's, like, cool as a cucumber.
Yeah, he can't do it. Sorry, go ahead, Steve.
If eventually they're going to have to kill the adults, I just think Crone is a good opening act for them, that really, because they have no emotional connection to her and she doesn't know them as well as Isabella. So she'd be good something that, you know, level 1 before you get to the next level with Isabella. So
yeah, there's she's
just an enemy. Like I said, we said before, she's just a plain enemy. There's no like complex relationship. There's no complicated relationship between them and Crone. So they could just not hold back, not feel any guilt.
Yeah, but I mean, there is that thing where, and it's whether Crone's lying or not, that if she dies, it gets sent to the headquarters. And maybe she's just lying about that. Maybe it's not true. But
maybe there is no headquarters.
I mean, I think there's a headquarters. I think
we've seen it before, though. Yeah. Isabella's talked to somebody, so there must be a headquarters. Yeah. Haven't we seen one demon meeting or?
Yeah, but we don't know if that's headquarters or not. We don't know what. We just know that's a place. We don't know anything to do with it.
That could have just been them chilling in someone's living room.
That's just a sleepover.
So there's no
sleepover.
So there's no cattle kids farm incorporated.
No, I don't think that. Look, I think that they have a far more sophisticated society to where they don't need to rely on corporations and businesses in order to get their food.
Oh, okay. So it's all
It's
all family
really
run?
advanced.
Oh, okay.
So there's no they don't have their own Tyson.
So is it really?
No, they don't need that.
So
there's
it's all
no
just very
need for
communist?
Monsanto or.
There's no Colonel. There's no KFC.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Let's see a demon version of Colonel Sanders.
I love this conversation, but let's keep moving through the episode. I think before we move on to actual story stuff, I want to talk about one other shot I think really stuck out with me, and that's the one where we get the the clock ring midnight, and we sit there and we go through the house, and it feels very final for some reason. It feels like this is a turning point almost of the show.
It also incorporates that time element that we've we continuously see in every episode, like the ticking of the clock, showing clocks, the tracking devices looks like a stopwatch, so I thought I agree that it seemed very this is where everything kind of changes. And it kind of does, because we're heading into the final episodes of the season.
And Crone's being sent out, and Isabella marks off the calendar and says it's almost time. It feels like Isabella is lying to these kids about when they're being shipped out. That's what this feels like to me.
As episode went on, I'm worried about it. I thought that was going to be the cliffhanger, the reveal that the shipping coming much more sooner than I expected. So
yeah, it almost feels like Crone's being sent out, and when Crone is sent out, that's when the shipment's gonna happen. They're gonna...
Oh, all in the same movement? That would be smart, though, for the demon's sake. Why send two
things
different trucks?
Isabel just be hey, you're bringing a truck to take out Crone, just take the kids when you come for her.
When you come to.
Yeah.
We also need to talk about how they decided to move up the date for escaping.
Yeah, because they have all the tools now. They can just go.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of wonder if they're smart enough, this rules the same thing we are, that the shipping date's not set in stone, that it could easily be a trap. So
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I've never been convinced. I'm still convinced that Isabella lied to Ray about the shipping time.
I am convinced that it's happening in November. There's no way.
Especially because we know for a fact that Emma, Ray, and Norman are being collected it was November, right? Or was it December?
I think it was December because it was 2 months.
It was December. I'm still utterly convinced that that's the ship date.
everyone,
It hasn't changed at all. Unless, of course, this note reveals that, with Crone leaving, that they're going to decide to pull, the 3 kids at that time as well.
Yeah. Everyone's a liar in this show.
Yeah.
Except maybe Emma. Everyone else is just they're hiding something. They have half truths and everything.
Yeah, there's a lot of just people making moves behind everyone's back. Yeah, I don't know.
It is Survivor.
I don't know if there's any really big other. Was there anything else big you guys want to talk about? Because I think most of it we covered. Because Crone was just the centerpiece of this episode.
Oh, the tracking device.
You want to talk about more of that? Sure, let's talk about it.
Well, I thought it was very interesting because she said that it only reveals a single person's location, and you don't know who that person is.
Did it say single person? I thought it said it.
Well, it only had 1 dot on it.
But that's because everyone was in the house. Because everyone was on top of each other.
That makes sense. But
but it's unclear. I agree, it's unclear.
It's really unclear. But I thought that was well, I feel like they wouldn't lie to her about how the tracking device works.
Yeah.
And I mean, she could lie to them, but again, based off what we've seen, it doesn't seem like it's one of those things oh, well, if you zoom in on the map, then you can see all of the individual dots versus one big one.
I just read it if they're more spread out, it's more clear that there's someone on the far side and close to the house. That's how I read it. But I mean, again, like I said, we're not given a clear picture
That's
at all
true.
here.
You never know.
I think we're always just we never have the full picture of anything.
What if Norman takes a picture of the tracking device with all of the kids on there, or not Norman, Ray, and then he super glues it into Isabella's tracker so that she believes that all of the kids are in bed?
Oh, that'd be good. He takes. Oh man, I still want them to all cut off their ears and leave them for Isabella somewhere.
Oh,
no!
Just leave a pile of ears for Isabella somewhere to find.
What if somehow?
I don't know. I'm really sad that the tracking devices aren't the tattoos on the neck, because that would make so much sense.
It still feels like, I guess we haven't talked about this still. We haven't really expanded on this.
It has some meaning.
Oh, go ahead.
I think that definitely those numbers mean something. So
yeah.
Well, they're not birthdays. I already figured that one out.
No, yeah, we figured that out. It feels like.
Is it a lot number?
Is it test score numbers? No, it can't be.
No, it's not test scores, because that would have to change whenever they retested.
And the numbers aren't very close to each other, are they? They're not similar. They're not numerical, going one up at a time.
Just be serial numbers.
Yeah.
I feel like they're lot numbers or something, because I was thinking about them in terms of dates, and then I was comparing it to because Norman and Emma and Ray are all the same age. And so when I was looking at their numbers, I was like, okay, well, their last 2 numbers aren't the same, which would suggest that they were born in the same year, or even, something along those lines, but their numbers are too far apart or too different. So I was really hoping they were the tracking devices. So
yeah,
now I'm just taking them as lot numbers.
Yeah.
Emma came from test tube baby lot number
test
1.
Tube baby.
What if Emma and Norman are siblings and Norman doesn't know it because he has a crush on Emma and...
I'll never see that idea.
No, I'll never be okay with that.
Yeah.
I watch enough anime, stuff like that happens all the time.
Yeah. I hope that isn't what happens here. I would hope so. Is there anything else? But again, does anything else happen here? We have the conversation with Ray and Isabella when he gets the camera, where he takes a picture of her smiling, and it almost feels like a nice moment, when he leaves.
It does, and he But what I find interesting is that he leaves the picture behind her. Because especially after he says oh, I've been so like fascinated by this, and she's just like, your final gift is a camera, and he's like, yeah, like this is super cool, and he like takes a picture of her, but then he leaves it behind.
It's almost as if to say, like, I don't want any memory of you, like, ever, like, when I leave here.
Yeah, like, I'm gonna be leaving you behind, kind of, maybe.
Yeah, it feels symbolic, and it also feels like she gets what he's saying. And I don't know, she looks so nice and happy in the picture. It's just...
Well, I think I don't know. I feel like it's another one of those things where she's like, oh, well, I'm glad in your final days I could make it nice for you by getting you a camera.
I always thought that, Isabel, like, from the beginning, that's how she justifies things to herself, that I'm just going to make life as happy as possible, even though you're all going to die. Like, yeah. Like, what's wrong with that in her mind?
And I still think we need to get a full confirmation on that from the show.
Which is why
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, which is why I think Isabel as a character a little more, even though I think she's more scary than Crone, she's a little more easier to sympathize with, if you can think that.
I hope now that Crone has had this episode, I hope Isabella gets more focused again, because I feel like she's been off to the side for a while here. Like, I really want to see her more.
But I continue to like the mystery behind Isabella.
Yeah, no, it's a good mystery.
Yeah, I think it's a good mystery, and I like what they've done with Isabella so far. I like I'm not unhappy with how they've portrayed her or like any of that situation, because again, this isn't Isabella's story, and it's not really Crone's story either. And so, but we use Crone in order to get, more information, and I like that, but I don't we kind of talked about Crone's backstory. I'm like, I don't want Crone's backstory. I don't care.
I don't care about that. But what I do want, though, is I think I still want an episode that's equally heavy on Isabella as it is on Crone here.
Well, say what you want about Crone. I do want Isabella backstory.
I think I don't need it.
I don't need it either. I like that. It's one of the things that I don't know, turns me off of shows is whenever and this is just any show, is when we're so it's supposed to be about the main characters, and when I start to sympathize with the enemy of the main character, that makes it hard for me, because they're not the person that I'm supposed to be sympathizing.
I disagree on that, April. I'm okay with sympathizing with the villain. What I can't stand is when we get backstory and it doesn't actually make a character better.
I don't like, though, which is very shonen, is we don't get any backstory, anything on a character until just before we're going to kill them off.
Yeah, no, that's a very anime thing.
That's very cheap.
And I think it's another failing of anime where they feel like they need to give us backstory of everybody, and I think some characters just work better when you don't know everything about them. Yeah. Because some ambiguity's good.
Yeah, and I think Isabella is a good character to not have any the ambiguity is perfect for her. Especially because she's our real villain of the show. If that makes any sense.
No, and I'm okay with that. And I like that. And I honestly I would prefer if the only more backstory we get on Isabella is in a couple seasons we learn more about the farm, the moms in general. You know what I mean? We learn about them.
Just the process.
Yeah, and then we can look back on Isabella and see oh, that's what she was doing. We can put her onto things we've learned, but we don't learn about her to learn about moms in general, if that makes sense. I like that idea better, because, I feel like learning her backstory just might take away from her. I think they can do it well. I'm not saying that's impossible. I'm just saying it's a risky move.
It's risky, and I just would rather not take it.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's worth the risk, because there's so many other balls in the air right now that we need to take care of.
If I think if they do, it probably would be cliche that she was the Emma of her generation, of her time.
Yeah, I don't know if I like that. I don't know if that's
so
helpful.
tropey.
It is. And again, they could do it well. I'm not trying to say that. I'm just saying, I've seen shows go down this path before, and it be not great. But I don't know if that's fair to this show, because it does a lot of things different from other anime in terms of the way it just does everything with the show. I think we're going to start wrapping up here. Do you have any final thoughts here, April?
I'm curious to see what is actually going to happen to Crone for once. Because again, I mean, I haven't had a huge interest in Crone, just other than the fact that she's crazy. So I'm really like eager to figure out what her true fate is and how that ties into everything else. I'm also just really hoping that we see more of Emma taking a lead instead of like Norman and Ray, especially as we approach like the final episodes of the season. So, and maybe we'll try to escape. Who knows?
Maybe. It feels like we're getting really close to escaping.
I feel like we're gonna like Dragon Ball this.
I think it's gonna be the season finale at this point. I was starting to think it might be earlier than the season finale, but it's starting to look like it's gonna be the season finale.
Yeah.
But anyways, Steve, do you have any final thoughts?
I wonder if this is it for Crone, though. Is she? We know how crazy she is already. Is she going to do something drastic, like something that she puts in a corner? If she feels like she's got nothing left to lose, she is very dangerous at this point.
Yeah.
So interested in what happens there, and see more like if we can finally have all of our protagonists on the same page. No more lying. No more like have their own little plan behind the other person's back. It's all right for the villains to be that way, but can our heroes be a little better than that? Let's all be a team here.
Yeah, let's see them all work together to do some stuff. Yeah, this was fun. I'm excited to see where we go. I'm excited to see if we have any more with Crone here. I'm excited to see if we start with scouting next episode at the very least. I want to see what's on the other side of that wall. And
yeah,
because we still have to do that. We have to do that before they try to escape April. But
that's right.
But Isabella has a plan, and that cannot be good for our heroes. That just cannot be good. So anyways, you can find out all the info of this podcast at overlyanimated.com. You can join us on Discord to text chat about animation at overlyanimated.com/Discord. And you can support us via Patreon at patreon.com/overlyanimated. Thanks to all our current patrons, especially our patron of the podcast, Damien, a.k.a. Diamond Day. And thanks as always to our patron executive producers, John, Ryan, Steve, Alex, and Hugh. Do we have anything else coming up soon? We have Genlock coming up this weekend as well.
I don't know any movies coming up though.
We might have something for How to Train Your Dragon 3.
But we got Star's coming.
Star's not till later in March, but we did just have
Dragon Prince?
We just had Dragon Prince coverage off of Netflix. Totally different show. Definitely a lot happier.
But it's made by a lot of people from the Avatar team, so I think there's some crossover there with this fan base.
And then we just had a podcast. I only know this because I'm on like all of these podcasts.
Yeah.
And then we also just had Lego Movie 2 coverage, so check that out. And we did just kind of get out of a huge like Ladybug burst.
I don't think there's a lot of Ladybug crossover with this.
No, they're not the same either, but it doesn't hurt to pitch anything, right?
I know. I'm just begging you. The people here listening on the comments, don't spoil this show here. Don't leave comments that are very spoilers if you read a manga, please.
We're getting close to the end of this season. We're getting close to, I assume, a big reveal.
Make it to the point here that you guys shouldn't read the comments.
Yes. So just please be mindful that, listeners, we are not following the manga. We don't know what happens next. So please do not spoil
for yourself.
us. Well, okay, sorry. Steve knows what happens, but April and I and a lot of other co-hosts that are on here don't know what's going to happen, and we're just here for the ride, and we're enjoying it, and we'd really appreciate if you don't spoil us.
I'm really for your comments. I'm sorry.
Yes.
You guys are great.
No, you guys have some great comments. You guys have been great so far, but Steve's right. It's not bad to reiterate, like, hey, please don't spoil us.
At the very least, warning. Just say this could be a spoiler. This could be a spoiler.
If you warn us so we have time to like not read it, like that's fine. Like I'll just be like, oh, yep, not reading this comment. But just you guys have been great so far. Like you guys are being very mindful of the fact that we don't know what's going to happen. So thank you very much. And anyways, thanks for listening, guys, and we will see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
So long.